Now let's meet our guests. Our first panelist is Sonya Ferrara, live on location in Halifax. Thank you for being here, Sonya, today. To kick things off, please tell us a bit about where you work, your role there, and what you've been working on lately.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me here today. So as Brenda mentioned, my name is Sonya Ferrara, and I work for the Nova Scotia government in the Department of Justice. And I work in a unit, it's called CyberSCAN. And I don't know if many people have heard about it or not, but basically my job is to provide support to victims of cyberbullying or the non-consensual intimate image sharing. And so it is a free and confidential service for Nova Scotians. So we get youth calling, we get parents and teachers, schools calling, we get seniors, sometimes calling as well. And so what it is, I work under a piece of legislation. It's civil, it's not criminal, and it's called the Intimate Images and Cyber Protection Act. And what that law is, it's there to kind of prevent and stop online abuse called cyberbullying, and again, the sharing of intimate images without consent, because that can be such a devastating thing. So we're there to offer support and let people know what their legal options are. And most people, when they do call, sometimes they're just looking for some advice. Sometimes they know who it is that maybe is cyberbullying them, and we can offer free mediation services. A lot of my job as well is to kind of help people navigate the technological supports that are available. So, like how to block someone, how to report a post, how to change your privacy settings. Um, how to take a screenshot, that sort of thing, and then let them know as well that there is a legal process where they can actually apply for court order to get a post taken down. So what I've been working on lately, I guess, is just basically constantly trying to find new ways and effective ways to support people, because it is can be quite a traumatic experience for people that are going through this, and also connecting to different resources that are out there, and just keeping on top of the technology, and just this issue that just it's been around now for, I've been in this position for 11 years, and it's just continuing. So I'm really happy to be here today and connect with the other panelists, and have found this whole forum quite interesting so far.
Great, thanks, Sonya.
Thank you.
So our next guest is Meagan MacDonald, coming live from Bridgewater. Over to you, Meagan. Please tell us a bit about where you work, your role there, and what you've been working on lately.
Great. Thank you, Brenda. And thank you very much for the invitation. I think this is a really important subject to be discussing about older adults and inclusion in particular. So my work is with Community Links, and we are a nonprofit organization. We're province-wide, and our focus is older adults aging well in a community of their choice. And from a place of being included in that community and recognizing their contributions to social life and how that community kind of comes together. And so my role currently is regional coordinator for the Lunenburg and Queens area. And I have colleagues all across the province in different regions. And our work includes supporting the community-based senior serving sector, which is really kind of a developing sector across the nation. So Canada actually just had its first summit that kind of brought all of the leaders in the senior serving sector together, and we were part of that as well. Currently, right now, we're doing some work internally that is focusing on a research project that we did last year, where we did community engagement sessions all across the province, really looking to hear from the sector on what is needed to better support them. And what we heard was that a lot of the sector is run by seniors themselves, and a lot of the sector is run by volunteers with not a lot of funding. And so right now we're doing work on responding to what we've heard and planning for the future. Our strategic plan is just about to kind of roll over. So that's been a lot of the work that we've been doing. And I have to say that it's been very kind of exciting and energizing to be working with the community directly on how we're going to move forward. So I would say that's kind of been been our focus for the last few months.
Wonderful. Thanks, Meagan. And last, but certainly not least, we have Rachel Shepherd, who is calling in from Halifax today. It's great to see you, Rachel. So tell us a bit about where you work, your role there, and what you've been working on lately.
Thank you, and thank you for having me as well. I am from Chebucto Links. We are a nonprofit in HRM that serves seniors 55 plus. We offer programs. We have 16 programs. One is a referral partner of those 16 with GEO, actually. So that's how we are connected. And I'm the executive director. Our programs and services are all to support seniors in aging well at home around gaining more information, keeping connected, and having access to information and referrals and keeping active. And so with those 16 programs, what we're trying to do right now is that we offer programs in person, but we also offer our programs on Zoom. And so we're trying to reach more seniors provincially right now. We have a great participation rate, I guess, locally, but we're reaching more seniors now in other places, and it's slowly but surely we're doing so. And so that's what we're really buckling down to do, is reach more seniors in like community centers, rural areas, and long-term care homes are even joining us, doing our exercise programs, which has been great. We also started a YouTube channel, so we've been recording our sessions and uploading them, so people who maybe they're caregivers and they cannot attend a certain session at a certain time, they can go back and do it on their own. And we're also recording some of our information sessions. So this week, for example, we have a physiotherapist coming in and doing a talk on falls prevention. And so that will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. And so our hope is that we can share this information and share the services that are available and kind of like the newest, most local, like relevant to Nova Scotia, because sometimes the information we can find online isn't really nearby. And so that's our focus right now.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. I guess I could have introduced myself. I know that everybody on the panel knows who I am. But for anybody else tuning in, my name is Brenda Lavandier. I'm the Interim Digital Champions Lead at Digital Nova Scotia. I work and live in Sydney Mines, Cape Breton. Joining me today is Tyler. Tyler is our moderator. Tyler, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm calling in from Eskasoni, Nova Scotia. And yes, I'll be the moderator for this session.
Thanks, Tyler. All right. So thank you all for participating today in our very first conference on digital inclusion, Digital Forum 2024. We hope you enjoy the upcoming discussion, and we hope the same for everyone watching us right now online. Before we get started with our first questions, we've selected a couple of short stories to highlight this particular subject, and I'd like to share the first one now. So I guess it would have been about it's over a year ago now. We were doing follow-up calls. One of the digital inclusion facilitators on staff was doing follow-up calls about Chromebook device delivery and internet connection. The digital inclusion facilitator immediately felt there was something unique about the person that they were talking with. The participant was very excited to talk and share details about her life and her unique situation. She had worked her whole life. She had worked 2 jobs because she was widowed very young. She had 7 children, and she needed to be able to hold on to her house. So now retired at the age of 80 years old and living on a tight budget, she was finding it hard to stay connected. The cost of internet and the cost of having a device, it can be prohibitive for some people. So although she she had worked all her life. She did a lot of contract work, and so she wasn't really paying into benefits. So now things are a little bit different for her in that light. Although she's in very good health and optimistic about, you know, how her life is, she was really excited to receive the device and the internet from GEO, because one of the things that she talked about was that she needed a new pair of glasses. And I mean, we think of glasses as a very basic thing that we, you know, if you need glasses, you need them. And she was going to find it really hard to afford that. So with the new service through GEO, she would now be able to kind of find her way to that, to affording her new glasses. So that's one of the ways that GEO Connects makes a difference in a very tangible way. And she felt that it was making a very big difference in her life. So that was really nice to hear. So I guess now we can go on to our first big question of the session. And I will ask, let's see, I'll ask Sonya. Sonya, if you'd like to kick things off for us. So the first question is, from your perspective, how does digital inclusion or exclusion impact seniors? Oh, Sonya, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to kind of use some personal experience and then also some experience that are of things that I'm hearing just through my work is that, you know, it's just the way our society is now that everything is connected. You need, you know, to be online, a lot of these services and so on. So it's just really important again for our, you know, seniors or for you know, for older Canadians to have some of these better digital skills, largely for their own benefit because it does give you access to services. I think this morning too they were talking about even in terms of booking things for health. You know, I remember even when when COVID came and when we were you know, people wanted to get their vaccines and so on, you could call to try to get a vaccine, but you'd be on hold for like 45 minutes to an hour. And I know, like, you know, and they did set up this great online system where you could go on and you could actually pick the day that you want to go, the location you want to go, the time. And so, you know, even personally, I had, you know, I was the bookkeeper now or the booker of appointments from my parents to aunts and uncles, you know, then getting calls from neighbors of my parents, you know, because they wanted to get these vaccines, but again, could not even book these appointments because if they called, they'd be on hold. That, you know, a lot of the good appointments would be gone, and it just was so great the way they had set it up that you could actually pick the date you wanted, the location, you know, the time and everything. So it's really having, you know, a whole sector of people kind of excluded from that technology really affects them in terms of even getting timely health services. And I think, you know, with the COVID too, it really showed, you know, a lot of people live away from their parents, you know, different parts of the country, our country so large, and just to be able to have that connection. So for people to be able to connect with their family and friends, and it really helps with, you know, feelings of isolation and things like that. You know, banking, you know, all of that sort of things, being able to pay bills online. And again, just from my personal experience with parents and so on, just the distrust of the system. But then when you actually explain to them, you know, that there's a lot of ways that you can be safe online. And I know even in terms of our office, we get calls, and I would say about 20% are from seniors. And, you know, again, I deal with the issue under my legislation is cyberbullying or intimate image sharing. But people are calling about scams quite a bit, seniors that do call because maybe they received a phone call and it's somebody saying it's the visa department and they don't understand why someone called about that, or they're getting an email and it's saying, you know, it's a typical scam email. And sometimes when I'm on the phone with them, even though it's not my job, I'll look up, you know, I'll just ask them to read me a few lines from it. And then looking up, I can see it's a very common scam. And by just explaining that to them, they feel better knowing that. Um, and just, you know, in terms of, yeah, it just really not having that access. And everybody's different what access they might want. Maybe it's just access to their family, maybe it's access to banking or shopping or whatever. That's if you that's just the way society runs now. So I think it's really important to be able to help seniors or any group with that sort of thing, so that they have access to those goods and services.
Yeah, certainly. Very important work there. Um, Meagan, how about you? From your perspective, how does digital inclusion impact seniors?
So I've been kind of thinking about it as digital exclusion to me comes from a place of ageism potentially, in that society's kind of moved along from a place of people building skills along the way. So I certainly didn't have a Chromebook in grade 2, but my child does. And that's just a natural skill and access to that skill that's being picked up. And that's fine, but naturally, anyone that's kind of older than that, including myself, is not as included in that skill building. And so there's people that are being left out just by nature of how the system is being set up right now. And as Sonya mentioned, it's not just sort of frivolous access, it's pretty basic social determinants of health, you know, so things like access to healthcare. A lot of healthcare, if you don't have access to it, you may be turning to virtual care. And that's a very different application for someone who's feeling overwhelmed by technology, or may not even have basic hardware access, let alone the skills to use it. And then there's kind of the more social aspect of it, that, you know, a lot of people are interacting on social media, or, you know, some people are even having weddings, funerals, major celebrations to include everyone online, you know, and people aren't necessarily being included in that. When I think of inclusion, I think of kind of the age-friendly communities model, and digital inclusion is included in that. So anytime you create an age-friendly community, you're creating a community that's friendly for everybody, not just older adults. And this is definitely another case of that. And then when I also think about something as simple as online applications, I agree with Sonya that I have become the go-to person in my family and in my social circle of basically anybody over 55 for accessing something simple as even the grant that has been created for seniors. I am helping folks fill out the online application, going and finding the paper one for them, the heating rebate, all of the different rebates that exist out there really do often require some extra help. And, you know, when you start to see community responding to that, you know that there's a gap. So, yeah, there's different levels of inclusion and exclusion. And I think also just even the feeling of being excluded, feeling like folks aren't being seen for what they're experiencing. And we really see that across the province with the community-based senior serving organizations. They're seeing it every day, and they're responding as best they can. But when there's not sort of a really concerted effort to include everyone, that's really an uphill battle that requires support from every sector. So yeah, I think it's really important work, and I'm so pleased that GEO has grown the way that it has over the years, and is responding with something like this discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Meagan. Yeah, we definitely, one of the things that we try to look at and we try to address as much as possible is the point you made towards skills, having the skills to access,
Yeah.
to be included, right? Yeah. Okay, Rachel, how about you? From your perspective, how does digital inclusion or exclusion impact seniors?
Well, I mean, I can echo what my friends have just spoke about as well. I think one of the things that we see at Chebucto Links is that plenty of people don't have that someone in their family that can do what Sonya and Meagan do for their family and friends, whether they just are isolated or just don't have family around or feel comfortable. And it's scary for some. They share with us to share that information, even with a neighbor. They, we're taught and told not to share our social insurance number. So to get support to do that is worrisome. And so we do a lot of the online applications. I have to say, though, going back to teaching and I guess coaching folks on how to use things like Chromebooks and online services. We have, for the last few years, had form filling events. So people would come and we would have lineups looking for help to apply for the Seniors Care Grant. And I noticed this year that there was less people, and I ran into somebody and they actually said, "Oh, because I watched you do it the last 2 years for me, I felt comfortable. And so I clicked the link and I did it." And I was like, "That's amazing." And so it's just, we have to look at it like you said, Meagan, it's not an innate, like our little ones, it's innate that they know how to use a lot of technology. There just needs to be some patience and time sometimes, and opportunity. If you don't have an opportunity to learn from someone who has the ability to teach you, then you will feel more isolated. The thing that we hear most from folks is that, I felt so out of touch, like there's a my account for everything, right? And so being in touch is empowering. Feeling like you have control and autonomy over your own affairs is important for people. And being isolated, is, they say, worse than smoking for seniors. And so being isolated socially and having a space where they can, check in on their grandkids and join social media and participate in that and see their grandkids grow, or their great grandchildren, or their family, is just, it's essential. It really is.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. For sure, those connections are important for everybody, especially seniors, I think. So thanks. That was great, everybody. Let's move on to question number 2. What are you seeing today related to digital inclusion and seniors? And Meagan, why don't you go first this time?
Sure. So just to expand on what I was saying earlier about how community is really seeing that gap and responding, I just wanted to highlight kind of what we were seeing from a sector perspective, watching community respond to this digital inclusion gap has been really heartening, but then also a little overwhelming to think that it takes that many different folks to really respond to this. And it's constant, right? So a lot of us who work in the sector, this was not something new, but COVID really brought it to the forefront that folks were being left out and feeling left out. And so I was just kind of reflecting on all the different groups that were responding in a really inclusive and kind of respectful way. So I'm always so impressed by libraries and what they bring to community and how responsive they are, and how, librarians went to school to be librarians, not social workers, but they are incredible social workers usually. They've got food programs, they've got social programs, lots of opportunities for learning. But I watched libraries really step up to the plate when it came to skill building, but also kind of taking that stigma away, like Rachel was talking about, where people would feel like, oh, I'm out of touch, this is all my fault, or I should have stayed up to date. I don't think so. I think there was a real understanding from libraries, but we saw it from community centers, adult learning centers, where you'd kind of have that more compassionate response of, there's no way you could have possibly known all of these skills, or, you know, maybe your life didn't require you to be online very much. And then suddenly to be asked to do literally everything online is a big ask for folks. And we all felt that, but older adults in particular were really excluded. So, I guess I was just really seeing how community kind of really showed up for other people. The other thing that I was seeing a lot of that was inspiring was the intergenerational skill sharing. So a lot of programs were being set up around intergenerational learning. And so, you know, hearing stories of high school students working with senior centers to share skills around digital learning is fantastic. But then, of course, you hear from the young people who are also learning from those older adults. So I thought that was a kind of a silver lining, really, because those intergenerational programs were becoming much stronger during that time. And then also seeing funders slowly start to recognize that this is a funding category, that it's not an add-on, that it is something that needs some attention. Yeah, so those were some of the pieces that I was reflecting on in terms of kind of seeing what's happening. And again, COVID really put a magnifying glass on that.
Yeah, COVID really did put a magnifying glass on that for sure. And it's kind of back to like what you were just talking about. We're kind of going back to what Maura said in the plenary this morning, how it really is a community issue, and the response, you know, needs to come from community, because it really does affect us all and has the potential. Like, it's all great and well, we're all here today, we're included digitally, but circumstances can change at any time, right?
Yeah.
Let's hear from you, Rachel. What are you seeing happening today related to digital inclusion and seniors?
Well, I'm seeing that it's a need. It's not a want. You know, it's essential. I think that's where, you know, I'm at and we're at as an organization at this point. That doesn't mean that everybody has to use it. Like, we don't force anybody, of course, but it is becoming a basic need. In my opinion, I think also, on a positive note, what I'm seeing is that the seniors that we serve anyway that are getting connected are feeling, you know, much more connected and much more empowered by, like, having access to information and knowing what's going on in their community. And I think one thing that we have to be really careful and mindful of is that, you know, we should get wisdom from the older adults in our communities. And typically we do that by gathering like together through family, through community, and through events. And when we saw that during the pandemic and during the lockdowns, and we had to close all of our programs. And we moved to Zoom, and that was difficult. There was people that couldn't or wouldn't. There were people that had maybe they had a computer, kind of like what Meagan was saying, but they certainly weren't equipped to go fully on. And so I was worried about how people were going to stay connected to intergenerationally as well. So to continue that like oral history and wisdom and just life lessons and from their families and from their loved ones and their communities. And so yeah, from that perspective, I think that's also just something that we just need to be really, really conscious of as a community.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. That's a good point. Like, it is essential, right? Digital skills are essential, and forcing it upon people, like, as much as we know, like you said, during the pandemic, it was essential for them to stay connected. Forcing anything upon people doesn't work, but it's really good to have the option and know that somebody is out there to support you when you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. Sonya, thanks for that, Rachel. Sonya, how about you? What are you seeing happening today related to digital inclusion and seniors?
Well, to echo what Rachel and Megan were saying, I think the community centers really have been, it's just so wonderful and inspiring to see, different programs specifically for seniors so that they have a safe spot to go and sign up for if they want to go and kind of learn about connecting safely online or whatever the different services are. I think that's really a great thing in the libraries as well. I know, I've had some family members sign up for different things. But one of the things that hasn't been mentioned yet that I find is that the social media companies now are starting to recognize that seniors are a big stakeholder group. And so, like Facebook, for example, which a lot of seniors like to use, it's a great way again to keep in touch with family and friends and hobbies and things like that. So developing things like I had found like a senior's guide to Facebook, for example, right? So it's really breaking down like what is the profile, what are privacy settings, what does it mean when someone wants to follow you. So it just makes sense. And I find the guides are great, because it really breaks things down. It explains things. And I think that's something that, hopefully, um, you know, even in terms of different apps or websites being created for seniors that, the social media sites and so on are going to realize that that's an important demographic, right? And the other one I wanted to mention was that governments across the world, and we don't have one specifically here, but like Australia, for example, it's called an e-safety commission, and it does deal with issues of cyberbullying and that sort of thing. But they have a whole mandate just on safety, so they have specific online tutorials. I think they also do. They arrange in-person sessions. They have tons of material on their line specifically for seniors. They have stuff for children and youth. They have stuff for caregivers. They have stuff for newcomer communities, and the information is just constantly being updated. And we don't have that here. We don't really have any kind of a safety commission nationally or even provincially. So I echo what Rachel was saying before. Or maybe it was Meagan, but even the work with this GEO, I didn't know about it until I was contacted by Matt. And I just think it's just such a great thing because it is recognizing the different issues. Like the one is in terms of devices and people being able to afford that. The other one is the even how to set it up. Even to set up a phone, you need to have an email address. You know what I mean? So it's starting right from the beginning, like setting up an email address and all that stuff. And then the connectivity issues across the province, we still have a lot of dead zones. And then the whole safety part of it, or just how to navigate the services, and that we also need different learning strategies for different people. And seniors, just like anybody else, sometimes they just want the internet to be able to connect with people, or maybe they just want it to take pictures, and share those pictures, or maybe they want it for to look up different things if they love to cook or garden on YouTube, and so it's just to actually that's being recognized now by organizations, and then support is kind of being created around that need. I find that very inspiring, and definitely is related to inclusion for seniors.
Yeah, thanks, Sonya, for sure. It really is all about recognizing those barriers, right? And addressing those barriers and making sure that people are getting included. It's interesting though to hear you talk about how social media and apps now are just kind of only recognizing now that, hey, this is a whole other demographic we could be looking at, right?
Right. And that seniors, and really it's been because of the job I do, like these social media sites, they allow abuse to happen on there, and they really should be held more accountable for this kind of stuff. And so one of them should be kind of even informing and protecting their users on how the system works and what you can do if there is a problem, and being responsive to that. So hopefully that's going to be a trend that we're going to see more of. And I think it's because there has been lawsuits and things like that against some of these organizations. But yeah, I mean, here we are, how many years after, Facebook's been around, and it's just now starting to put out these kind of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Great discussion. This is awesome. Thanks so much. So now I have another quick story I'm just going to share here before we move on to the last question. So one of our other team members had been talking with a senior who had missed out on 4 months. So this kind of goes back to everybody's points made in the first question. So this senior had missed out on 4 months of needed health tests. They didn't have the technology or the skills to book their appointments online. They couldn't schedule tests in person until they saw their doctor, which was going to take some time. Not surprising, as healthcare is currently in Nova Scotia. But once they had a device and an internet connection and some training, they were able to manage their bookings for health tests and get the care that they needed in a timely way. So again, that's just another, just in a way, it's really the fix is simple, right? It's just a matter of, can we do it? So we will move on now to the final question. And Rachel, I think we'll start with you this time. What do you think are promising opportunities for Nova Scotia related to digital inclusion and seniors?
Well, I agree. The fix is simple when it comes to providing access. A lot of seniors live on fixed incomes. We recently surveyed our participants to just get a feel for, who we were serving. We wanted to know who we were serving. And one of the bigger takeaways is that over half that completed the survey are living under $29,000 a year in income. So, and sometimes much, much less than that. So quite low income. And so what we've seen is that, the cost of living, the cost of everything with inflation and all of that, seniors are on a very fixed income, mostly, many. And so they don't have ways to make room in their budgets. And so what we have experienced is that, partnerships like being able to refer our clients to GEO to get free internet and get a device, and we provide the support to keep going and using it, and then they can access our programs and all of that. So it's like the fix is so easy now that we're connected and we see it working every single day. And the cost of internet is prohibitive when you're living on a fixed income, a low income. And so people were choosing between buying groceries and paying for their medications. And so to be able to alleviate that stress and that bill has been, it's been wonderful. And we see the positive results of it. And, people call me and say, so I've been on it for a year now, can I stay? And I'm like, yes, you can. And it's just wonderful to see how meaningful it is. So I would say these kinds of partnerships and initiatives. I think the other thing is making it almost like a standard utility that people would receive in a senior's home, for example. I know there's some technical, Matt and I've chatted about it before, some technical barriers that make it so that it would have to be individualized, but why not? Why not put individualized internet in places like subsidized housing, where we know already that folks who are living in subsidized housing have lower income. So why not make it a utility so people have access, and it's a safety concern to not be connected to people. So I think that next steps are to ensure that everybody is included, especially seniors, because of the vulnerabilities.
Yeah, for sure. It is a safety issue, isn't it? And I think a lot of people don't really look at it that way, but it is it's an essential connection for people. And it's really unfair that people have to make such difficult choices when it comes to their health and their, just their well-being in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Sonya, how about you? What do you think are promising opportunities for Nova Scotia related to digital inclusion and seniors?
Well, I echo what Rachel was saying in terms of providing that access. It really, and I feel that it needs to be kind of delivered at that community level because it's people in the community, these community organizations that are hearing about the concerns and some of the issues. And to be able to have an organization like GEO that can offer the free internet and devices is just such a great thing. But it's also, it needs to be something that's kind of developed. Like you need to have government buy-in for this stuff. You need to have private industry, and the community centers, and and then like we were saying, just in terms of even how to use the internet wisely. Like it's one thing to give them the access, but to like people do need support in terms of even explaining the terminology and then step by step how to set things up. Like even what is the internet, and then just some of the you know positives and negatives of it, and how to FaceTime and how to use it for paying bills and just things like that. So again, just as we'd mentioned, kind of recognizing that a couple of different issues in terms of the lack of access to devices and the lack of access to internet, and then the whole lack of access of just having a safe place for seniors or anybody to kind of have that education on this sort of stuff, right? So that they can use it, because a lot of it, again, it can be safe, but there are ways to mitigate some of the concerns that come up, even in terms of putting privacy settings on. So again, I just use Facebook because it's just so popular at seniors, but yeah, again, we get calls from someone that might be messaging them and saying nasty things, and they don't realize that you can actually do it so that strangers can't access you, and your profile pictures and just things like that. You don't have to put a picture of yourself there. You can put a picture of your pet or whatever, because your profile picture, again, anybody can take it and copy it or open up a fake account and things like that. And it's just so hard to explain to people sometimes if they don't have that understanding. They think someone broke into their account, but really someone kind of spoofed their account. And, but in terms of opportunities, like I just think, recognizing that this is an issue, providing the supports necessary for that, and then having like a way to disperse that through the different communities. Because again, what's happening in Cape Breton might be different than some of the issues that people are having in Yarmouth and things like that. So that's what I would say. To me, are some of the promising opportunities, and I kind of want to learn more about GEO and connect, with some of the organizations around the province that deal with seniors, to see if there's something that we can do to help in terms of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Sonya. One of the things that we like, the skills and support piece, we feel is really important, because it's great to hand somebody a new Chromebook and say, here you go, this is for you. But
Yeah.
I liken it to, so when we do our digital champions, we deliver digital champions training, and that's what that training is about. It's about supporting people where they are and giving them skills they need to use the devices. And I always say, you could give me the keys to a brand new car and say, here you go, this is for you. But if I don't have a driver's license and I don't know how to use it safely and confidently,
Yeah.
it's going nowhere. I'm going nowhere, literally, right? So yeah, thanks for that, Sonya. That's great. Meagan, you're up next. What do you think are promising opportunities for Nova Scotia related to digital inclusion and seniors?
Yeah, so actually, as Sonya was just mentioning near the end there, I think there's a lot to be learned from within community and amongst different communities. So that's a lot of the work that we do at Community Links, is to kind of amplify stories about folks that have figured something out in their own community, and then ensuring that that's getting shared across the province and with each other. Because I really think that's where the important skill building, learning, problem solving, kind of figuring out how to do this, because none of us know how to do this. We've never done this before, right? And so I think there's something to be said for recognizing that vulnerability, knowing we're not going to get it right every time, but when we do get it right, let's share that knowledge with each other. Let's share that learning. And so we're very committed to doing more of that and to doing that better, because there are some really interesting things happening out there that are positive. So something as simple as setting a community center up with a better system for sharing Chebucto Lynx's exercise program and blasting it to the community center and having 40 folks participate in that. So those are people that they may not be comfortable doing that in their own living room, but they're definitely comfortable coming and being with their friends and doing it in a group. So to me, that is also digital inclusion, right? It's not just someone at home by themselves on their computer getting set up with their doctor. That's great too. But I think digital inclusion can look different ways. I'm also happy to be seeing that hybrid options are becoming much better. Rachel and I can definitely speak to having seen some hybrid options around 2020-ish, 2021 that didn't always do great, right? So either the person who's at home, apparently they're being included, but they weren't always. I really think that's been improving. A lot of us, including us, have been gaining skills around doing a better job of hybrid. And then seeing an example, so we watched the community health team, the HRM based one, start to slowly offer out some of their virtual wellness programs to the entire province. And that was like a bit of a pilot for them. And what they found was that tons more folks were joining, people that they'd never seen before, because they were able to do that from home. And because organizations like GEO had taught them how to do that, or that had given them access. And so now that's a regular thing for them. They had never done that before, but now they offer programs province-wide virtually. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's suddenly including this whole other group of people that have never been included before. And so I really see that as a positive and something that we can all build on. So if we can keep building on each other's successes, I think we can do some pretty cool things.
Yeah, I love that, building on each other's successes, and I'm glad that you highlighted like the positives that we're seeing, right? And we're seeing a lot of those positives through partnership, right? Partnerships that's where it's at. And just recognizing that we are all learning and we might not get it right the first time, but you know, we can keep improving. So that is great. Thank you all so much. This has been a wonderful discussion. Just see what we have for time here. So we actually have, now it's time to give something away. We just got word for everyone who's watching the live stream right now. We've just received the name of our winner for a $250 gift certificate from Orchard, Canada's largest refurbisher of pre-owned phones, and the winner is Mary Schaefer. We'll follow up and email your certificate, Mary, after the conference. So that's great. Congratulations. And so now we have about 10 minutes left. And we're going to open it up to the audience for questions that hopefully are coming in via the chat. So do we have any questions coming in, Tyler? No questions. All right, well, we can wait and see if anybody has any questions. In the meantime, is there anything that we didn't touch on that any of our panelists would like to just kind of highlight today? We have about 10 minutes left.
Actually, I have something that just came into my mind now. And it's with calls that we sometimes get is I'm seeing now a lot more grandparents are becoming the primary caregiver of the grandkids. And so sometimes we're getting calls as well that the grandparents have no idea how the social media works or whatever, but their grandchild is having a few issues regarding cyberbullying or something, or maybe is talking to someone, a stranger online or something like that. And so they're calling again because we're one of the few places where you can call. We have a toll-free number and it's a live voice. We're hearing some of these concerns. So I was just going to ask the other panelists as well, is this something that they're kind of hearing as well in terms of grandparents now, they're retired and they're onto that part of their life, but because of circumstances, their grandchildren are now living with them or they're becoming almost like the primary guardian, and some of the challenges that because of the age gap and the lack of knowledge of the technology, that there's some issues with that.
Meagan or Rachel, anything?
I don't
anything you see
know, like
there?
I can't speak to any specifics, but I could see how it would certainly be a challenge. Yeah.
I mean, we certainly see in Nova Scotia, there's far more grandparents that are either primary caregivers for their children or sorry, their grandchildren, or their grandchildren have moved in along with their parents. So it's a 3-generation home. That's become far more common, especially with housing issues. So whether it's sort of a permanent or a part-time situation, there's certainly grandparents who suddenly are having to sort of moderate a grandchild's use of the internet, and they certainly don't feel always confident doing that. So yeah, I can see how you would be getting those phone calls, Sonya. That's interesting.
It is interesting, and it's what's really nice about it is you said they're getting a live voice on the other end. Sonya?
Yes, with our office,
Yeah.
actually, we're a little bit behind in terms of technology. We only receive we only receive concerns or inquiries through our toll-free line. We don't have an online option yet. We don't have a social media site, and we don't do text. So in some ways it's limiting people, but then on other ways people, the feedback we get is that it's just so nice to actually have someone picking up the line, a live person. And again, if we're getting a call about a scam or something like that, we'll let them know, you could, if you did lose money or whatever, contact the police, or there's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center that might have a bit more information, or we can refer people to other places if they're calling and it's totally not within our jurisdiction. So yeah.
We do have a question. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Meagan.
I was just going to say that we're certainly noticing that there's more grandparent support groups popping up in, say,
Yes.
community centers, or, so that's a great place to be having that type of discussion, Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There is a question that just came into the chat. I don't know if you folks can see it there. From Liz Devine. Liz asks, how can you get information about your organizations out to more people? So maybe just
Well,
from your experience. Yeah, Rachel.
we're trying. It is difficult because I'll be honest, the people that we want to probably need and want to reach the most are the most vulnerable people, and they're the hardest to reach. And I've noticed even, recently, like gone are many of those kind of community boards that you would put up your poster. It's so hard to find one of those nowadays. Like some Sobeys will have them, but like pharmacies, like a Shoppers, I've gone out to put physical posters, and it's difficult. So we just do our best. We will go out and put them in seniors' homes, like the provincial or the municipal kind of seniors manors. We connect with churches, MLA offices, because they field a lot of calls from seniors who need issues, like have issues in their district. Churches, doctors, pharmacies, dentists, like we've connected with quite a few dentists who have contacted us who say, like, since the new federal dental plan has rolled out for seniors, there was a lot of folks who needed support applying for that or just navigating it. And so contacting us and saying, would you help with that? And of course, and we have a seniors resource drop-in program, but often we try to promote our services online, but if you're not online, that's difficult. So it's a mixture of trying to reach as many people as we can, because maybe you're not a senior, but your neighbor is. And so we do get referrals like that all the time, actually. Like we have a produce delivery program that we do within HRM, which a free bag of produce to seniors delivered to their door. And I would say, I can't say the percentage, but quite a few of those referrals are from their neighbors or from a family member saying, my neighbor's like 95 years old, and living on their own still, but having a hard time carrying groceries and is quite low income, would they qualify? And they'll give them their information. We connect with the seniors. So it's difficult, but we try our best. If you're looking to refer to anybody, you can always just go to our website and we can contact anyone if we're given the information and permission to.
Yeah, I mean, we would be similar, a little bit different in that we don't provide programming. So of course, you know, we have our website and we have wrap cards and we have brochures, but really for us, I think it's word of mouth, and it's the connections that we make with senior serving organizations and them speaking to each other about our services. So, you know, almost everybody that gets added to my mailing list, for example, has been referred by someone else who's already on it, you know, or I go to community events and I have chats with people, and it's, you know, good old fashioned talking to people, I think is really the biggest piece for us. So, you know, we have a communications coordinator and she does beautiful writing and does a great job on our website, but we also have, you know, folks all across the province doing work as well. And we are in community, you know, we're talking to folks at the farmers market or at the seniors expo, or, you know, so I think it's a little bit of both, really.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get creative. You have to know where to look, right?
Yeah, and Rachel's
Sonya?
right. The
Yeah.
folks that most need to hear about what's available are the ones that are hardest to reach. So I think
Absolutely.
organizations are always working together to reach those folks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Sonya, anything? Do you have anything to add there?
I guess just quickly, well, my position and unit is a little bit different because it
Mhm.
is at the government level. But
Mhm.
again, you know, I work in downtown Halifax. It is a provincial, like anybody can call. It's a toll free number. You know, we only have 3 staff here, and we're responsible for the whole province. So we, you know, getting the word out to me is really kind of connecting with the different stakeholders in the community so that they have a good understanding of what we do, you know, giving them brochures or whatever. And then that way, because they're the ones hearing about the issues and they're the ones that can say, hey, you know, you might want to give CyberSCAN a call. Maybe they can help you out with that. So, you know,
Yeah.
again, we don't have a communication person right now. We don't have, you know, a set plan. And, you know, with government, it depends on what the hot topic is, right? And it's just, again, we're kind of on the back burner at the moment because of the mass inquiry and things like that. So,
Right.
yeah, so I think it's important, and I'd like to get out there more doing presentations and things like that, but it's just
Mhm.
a resource thing. So,
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Well, everybody, that's all the time we have for today. We took it right down to the very last minute. I'd like to thank our guests one more time, Sonya, Rachel, and Meagan.
thank you.
Thank you for your time and insights on this very important topic. And thank you all for watching. We're so glad you made time in your day for us. We hope you enjoyed the session. Enjoy the rest of the day, and don't forget to tune in tonight at 7 p.m. for the GEO Forum 2024 Awards ceremony, celebrating the incredible progress we're making together in Nova Scotia and highlighting some of the incredible people and organizations who are making it happen.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so much,
everyone.
folks. Thank you.
Thank you.